Alright, let's take a mosey on over to the merchants first. Let's meet at the PvP lobby waypoint. Now over at the weaponsmith, I want everybody to buy one of every type of warrior weapon. That is axe, longbow, greatsword, hammer, mace, rifle, shield, sword, and horn. I'll link all those in guild chat.
Goodbye.
And once you've got all those, head on back to the DPS waypoint.
On my mark.
Alright, come on over here, where the large group of target golems are. The first weapon I want to show you guys is the rifle, which, if you're just beginning in World vs. World, this is a weapon that is going to get you a lot of badges, but not get you killed. Now, if you're running a rifle primarily, you are pretty much always going to want the crack shot skill, which is second tier of arm. And what that does is make it so that your bullets pierce. If you look here, I'm striking 3 units at once. And something really fun about this skill is you can down up to, I think it can hit about 10 people maximum. So if you're in the middle of a big fight and you can line up a kill shot, sometimes you'll get lucky and you can kill 3 people at once with a nice crit. But typically for a rifle, there's not really a set rotation, but I always recommend you open with your 4, which is brutal shot. That'll give 5 stacks of vulnerability, and then you can lead into your volley, which is probably your big burst move besides the actual burst skill. Your 2, of course, is a cripple, which is very handy for stopping people from either getting close to you or getting away from you. And one ability which people tend to neglect and see it as being more of just a get away from me build is 5, rifle butt. And not only is this good for getting people away from you, but it is actually an extremely powerful hit. For example, one thing that happened to me today in World vs. World was a thief was closing in. And what I did was, as he was running at, I brutal shot him, and then I started doing volley. And one thing he wasn't expecting is I was actually running at him during the volley. Now the volley got him down quite a bit, and when I hit him with the rifle butt, it crit for about 3,000 or 4,000. It is an extremely powerful hit. So not only is he far away from me now, but he also has taken a ton of damage. At this point, the man is trying to run, so I just go ahead and aim shot him and finish him off. A rifle is definitely your best single target ranged ability, but I want you guys to switch to a longbow now. You might have to run away to get out of combat.
For great justice. That looks valuable.
Alright, so the longbow is probably my favorite World vs. World weapon, simply because the AoE ability on it is pretty much unmatched by anything that a warrior has. So what I always do with the longbow is, once your Fury is maxed, you hit your burst, you throw that down, and then you throw the 3 right into the middle. Now look at all the AoE damage we just did. Not only is it an extremely long 12-second fire field, the 3 is also a blast finisher, so if there are people actually pushing into that Zerg that you threw the fire into, you're going to give them money. But not only that, but on average my arcing shot, my 3 can crit for about 3,000 to 4,000. And that is not something to scoff at. Another great thing about the F1 ability is that because it's so big and it lasts so long, it is absolutely spectacular for zoning, especially against a Zerg. If you throw that in front of a Zerg, they typically will not try and run through it. Even though it's not doing a huge amount of damage, it is a gigantic fire field. It is a gigantic red ring. So that is great for not only making groups hesitate from running in, but also running away. If you throw that on a bridge that they are pushing across, they're going to be more apt to try and commit to that rather than trying to run away when they realize there's a field of fire. Likewise, if you throw it in front of them, they're going to be a little bit scared of pushing forward. Moving on from the burst ability, your 4 is a targeted ability which causes a... The damage is not great, but the best thing about this is the blind. Now, blind is a very situational... Well, it can be very powerful in certain situations. And you're going to find out exactly why as we move on to different weapons. The AoE blind can be used to negate 1 strike from every single person it hit. And your best way to use this is if you know that something big is going to be coming. Such as if you're, say, fighting a hammer warrior or something along those lines. If you know that he's going to be doing a stun ability, you can hit that 4 blind hit. And not only will his ability miss, but it will also go on cooldown. Now your 2 ability is also another AoE ability. It's a sort of skinny frontal cone. I can't really say anything spectacular about this. It's just a frontal cone and it pierces by default. And finally your pin down 5. It's an immobilize, 900 range, and it's also a guaranteed projectile finish. I mostly recommend this. It's sort of like the aim shot for the rifle. You want to use it if somebody is trying to gain on you or trying to run away from you. That is your best bet for it. It's best to essentially control people.
Also, I know that one of the weaknesses of the warrior is their lack of condition removal. Realize that if you throw this projectile through a light field, you're going to remove a condition off yourself. It's going to remove the leftmost condition off you, so
yep.
Use that to your advantage.
Alright, that's about all I can say for the longbow. There are 2 traits and tactics that improve the longbow. Personally, I find them somewhat underwhelming. I think there are better ways to use those 2 traits. But if you find a good way to use them, go for it. And let me know, because I'd be interested to hear. The next item I want to go over is the hammer. So, grab a hammer and... Yeah, we'll just go for the hammer right now. So the hammer is a weapon I have definitely been playing a lot with lately in World vs. World. I find that the utility it can bring is absolutely invaluable for group play. but it can be extremely frustrating to get it to work right. So typically with a hammer build, I say screw it to all the DPS. I run pure power, toughness, vitality build, or armor. And my rune set, which I cannot recommend anybody run this because I mostly use it for sort of trolling it. Vampirism, because it gives me misform when I'm at 10%, and a warrior with misform is actually hilarious. Now, when it comes to the that F1 ability is what you are going to be using to screw over people, especially as Zerg. If you can sneak,
throw it down, you're gonna be like, damn.
Well, not every time. You'll quickly get pissed off when trying to use it. But basically, you find the gooey center of that Zerg, and you find an angle you can approach it without getting noticed. You will stun everybody it hit for 2 seconds when you're at max. That's a 600 range. Now, typically, the way I go about screwing with the Zerg, full adrenaline, run in with my F1, stun it. I hit my 3 next, which is the AoE crypt. Then I hit my 4, which is staggering blow, which knocks everybody back. And from here, it's really situational. You can either start swinging with your 1. Every third is an AoE strike with the 1, so that's pretty sweet. If you can pick out a particular target that you can tell is hurting people or really helping, like a Mesmer or a Elemental or a Guardian, your 5 will knock down a single target for 2 seconds, I believe. Typically, you won't be sticking with your hammer for that long when you've grown into a group. Once you've blown your cooldowns, you'll typically want to switch to your next weapon and switch back once you know that your F1 is up. But if you are really in the thick of a gigantic, your priority is going to be getting the hell out of there once you've caused the havoc, which is something I will go over in detail once I've finished off with all the other types of weapons. Now, 2 things I really want to stress with the hammer is, because it attacks so slow, you will find yourself getting shut down by blind more often than any other weapon, especially once you've done that first jump into the group. Now, the worst possible thing that can happen is you get hit by a blind right before your Earthshaker hits, which is, it's gonna happen a lot, trust me. If that happens, your rotation, well, not rotation, but your plan is gonna go to shit. I highly recommend you're gonna need to think very quickly if you want to stay in the group or not, or if you want to get out of there quickly. Fights that you can take and fights that you can't, you'll begin to figure out which is which pretty quickly. Another thing is, if your Earthshaker lands, more often than not, you will find yourself targeted quickly, which is why I typically go for the 3 instead of the 4 first once I've landed the Earthshaker, because if I get blinded once I've landed the blind will be consumed by Hammer Shock, and then all you've missed is a big AoE hit and cripple. You haven't missed any CC yet.